Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new Social Talk session. Until now, we've learned about LinkedIn and how you can use this platform to promote your brand's message. We also learned about community management, how to plan your content in social. We discovered why live streaming is important, how the Instagram algorithm works, Twitter strategies, and now it is time to learn more about episodic content marketing from Robert Katai. Robert is a content marketing strategist. He's been in the marketing industry since 2007, and now he works as a product marketer for Creative, a professional online graphic design tool. And he is the host of the most popular podcast in Romania called Katai Podcast. Hello, Robert. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. How are you?
Hi, Maria. Thank you very much for your invitation. Well, I'm excited to do this. So thank you very much again for giving me this chance to talk about episodic content strategy. I know it's something that everybody is talking about, and I know that it's a new thing. So let's dive into this topic.
Great, because I can't wait to learn more about the episodic content. So, Robert, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. So before I will dive in this presentation, I want to start with a short and simple question. Do you want to build great, sustainable, long-term content marketing? And if the answer is a simple yes, then you are in the right place. If your answer is no, then maybe you should think about it again. And if there is where you really want to be. And if the answer is you don't know, then you definitely should stay here. So like Maria said, I'm Robert Katai. I'm the product marketer at Creative. I'm also a content strategist. I write a lot of articles on my blog, and I also have my own podcast. And I love content marketing and content marketing strategy. So if you're a marketer, business owner, social media manager, or a content creator, this is the kind of presentation you want to watch and take some notes from it. So let's continue this presentation with the second question. Because we had our first one, remember, when was the last time when you binge watched your favorite brand content? Exactly. When was the last time you binge watched your favorite brand episodes? When was the last time you sat down on your couch and searched for your favorite brand to watch their latest episode? Or when was the last time when you went out for a walk and you put on your earbuds and played the latest podcast episode from your favorite business brand? You know, back in the day, when I started working in content marketing, I had only one weekly routine: to watch Rand's Fishkin Whiteboard Friday. And I know all these old SEO people heard about the SEO Moz and Moz. But for me, it was everything I wanted at that time. Simple presentation, transcript of the video, images with the whiteboard, snackable short visuals in the article, easy to follow, and also it was relevant for me as a professional. Answering all the day-to-day questions and showing an easy to solve the problem, it was my weekly bookmark article that helped me do my job. So I can't wait for Friday to come. But that was a few years ago when I started in content marketing. Since then, I had my questions and always and almost had the same answer. So how am I building a brand? By creating consistent content and market it to the audience. How should I promote my product if I have a small or limited advertising budget? By creating consistent content and distributing it to the right audience. Or the last one, how can I differentiate from my competition? By creating consistent content and promoting it to the right audience. And the answer were all the same around one simple topic: create consistent content. And maybe that was for me. But so I was wondering, if everybody is launching a blog, and if everybody is recording a podcast, if everybody is making video series, what's the deal? How can I use this consistent content creation to help me stand out in the market? So my answer was episodic marketing. And I go back to Rand Fishkin in an interview for Typeform, where he said an interesting thing. This episodic content world, I think, is where we are headed. So if you want to build great, sustainable, long-form content, you should dive into this episodic marketing strategy. So what is episodic marketing? episodic marketing, or as others call it, episodic content marketing, is a type of content strategy that divides the content into flawless episodes. We all want to create perfect episodes, the kind of experience that will make the user want more, right? Then we move forward and we see that episodic content marketing creates content strategy that divides the content into flawless episodes that build brand awareness. So, and even if brand awareness can be sometimes like a marketing buzzword, I still think that marketers are working hard to make their brand known in their industry. Teach leadership? Yeah, teach leadership. Remember when I said about Rand Fishkin, how he built this episodic content strategy with White Boy Friday? That was a true lesson about leadership and teaching in the same time. And engage with a target audience. Even if we have so many opportunities to connect with a large audience, it doesn't mean that we are effective with our communication strategy. That's why the target audience is an important strategy for every marketer, right? We just don't want to talk with the one that doesn't need our solution, right? So this is something that it really draws my attention, because episodic content marketing is that kind of content strategy that divides into the content that divides the content into flawless episodes that builds brand awareness, teach leadership, and engage with the target audience. Not just draw their attention, but keeps people attention. And it's not enough just to draw people attention these days. Today is important to also keep their attention and to engage with the target audience and engage with their attention. And how do you make this? By creating an episodic content strategy. So moving forward, I have this quote, and since I heard it, it's just stuck on me. As Joe Politi said, we are all media companies. And I love this quote. Even if you are in SEO, PPC, social media, or content marketing, we are all media companies. And not just our brands, not just from the corporate perspective. We as professionals are media companies. But the difference is between the one that understands this behavior and the one that ignores it. So, but before we move into the how to create an episodic content strategy for your brand, let's start with that one single topic that is always blowing my mind when we are about to launch a content marketing project. You start with your audience or you start with your objective. Like, those kind of articles, you start with your audience. And I also wrote these kind of articles. You start with your audience, and some say you start with an objective. The simple answer is both. You go hand in hand. Because I'm not here to talk about your marketing objective. This is on your own way. This is on your own staff. I'm here and I want to outline the importance of the audience. And I'm dividing the audience in two parts. An active audience or a passive audience. Do you have an active audience or a passive audience? So let me tell you about the active audience. The active audience are the ones that are having a very active life. They are going to gym, they are going to their office, they are having an active life in the weekend and just doing a lot of stuff. While the passive audience, they are the ones that are having a balanced, quiet life. They are comfortable the way they are and they just don't want to do more. So these kind of audience are consuming passive and active content. The active audience is consuming passive content. It's something like this. The one that they don't need their full attention to consume it. So something like an audiobook or a podcast. Because they are active, they can't stay on their couch and consume an active content. That's why they are consuming the passive content. They can do multiple activities while they are consuming a type of content, while the passive audience is consuming an active content, the one that they need to have their full attention. Something like a YouTube video, Netflix movies, and others. So you can't watch a movie if you're not fully engaged, right? So what do we want as marketers? To have a passive audience or an active audience? This really depends on the product and the service you are selling to them. But now that we know the audience, and now that you divide your audience and you understand your audience and you understand the content you can create, I think we should move forward and see and look a little bit at the narrative of an episodic content strategy. Because there are 5 essential elements of a narrative. First, there's the characters. They are the individuals that the story is all about. Every story has a main character. But in our situation, this character can be even a multi-person. Maybe your character is a street artist or a barista or a mompreneur. They can be several people under one character. Let's take, for example, The Shop. This is an episodic content project by the one and only LeBron James. You know one, the guy from the NBA, the one that is the discussion with the GOAT, who is the better basketball player, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, but that's another topic. And the Mavericks Carter Company, Uninterrupted. These video series offer unfiltered conversations and debates with some of the biggest names in sport, culture, music, and entertainment. So we have the main character, where is LeBron James and Maverick Carter, and we have the secondary characters, the big names like Jay-Z, Snoop Dogg, Will Smith, Chance the Rapper, and others. The one that represent industries like sports, culture, entertainment, and music. The second essential element of a narrative is the setting. This is the location of the action. Where do you want the entire situation to take place? Do you want to build a studio? Do you want to go to your character's home or office? Will it happen on the streets? Let's take an example, Help Scout, Against the Grain. Every location is different from the other. They move in different locations to understand the characters better, to feel the company's atmosphere, and to help the consumer of the content be aware of the ambience. When you watch the first episode, and I'm taking from my own perspective, and I'm your own example. When I watched the first episode with Death Wish coffee, I knew that I want to try the Death Wish coffee. And I somehow smelled in the air the coffee. And that was something very interesting. So this is why the setting is so important and this is why the setting is an essential element of the narrative. The next one, it's the plot. The actual story around which the entire show is based. This means that your plot should have a very clear beginning, middle, and end. So if you think about seasons, you have to have a beginning, a middle, and the end. And even if you think about one simple episode, what's the intro? What's the beginning of the story you want to share? How can you make the episode to create a flawless feeling from the introduction to the middle of the story and last to the end of the story? Then we move forward to the conflict. So what kind of situation you are solving with your episode? This is your conflict. The entire plot is centered on this conflict and the way in which the characters are going to solve the problem. So let's take an example for the Drag and Drop Show by Creatopy. Before we launch our third season of our podcast, we were in the middle of working on our new rebranding. We changed the name, we changed the logo, the entire identity. Oh, and let's not forget, we were in the middle of this pandemic situation. So that's why we started scratching our own itch. We talked with several SaaS companies who rebranded themselves and learned how to solve the problem that we bet many marketers will face several times in their professional life. So that's why our third season of Creatopy's podcast is about rebranding for SaaS companies and also the story of our own rebrand with the creators and also the client who's our CEO. So that's why this is our kind of conflict, if I can say that. That's the solution we are solving right now. And the last one, it's the resolution. That's how you solve the situation. This is important because it can fit the rest of the show in a tone and voice that will make the consumer part of the conflict. So I love Vistia's every series, but my favorite is the one where Chris Levine talks all things about video production in a remote world. So every Tuesday at 12 p.m., Chris went live to talk all things video and audio production in this newly remote world. They challenge their audience to come and bring their questions to live stream. And that's how Chris engaged with their audience to be part of this resolution. Not just talking with a bunch of creators, but also answering real questions, showing them all the props they need to make an awesome video or audio, and least but not less, practice what they really preach. So here are the 5 essential elements of a narrative: character, setting, plot, conflict, and resolution. Now let's move forward and try to answer another common question I saw when we want to start an episodic content strategy. Do you want to know how you can start that brand do you want to know how you can start that brand show using an effective theory? I'm talking about Zygardenic Effect. I'm using this simple theory that is called the Zygardenic Effect, named after the founder, Russian psychiatrist and psychologist Bluma Wolfovna Zygardnik. Every time I'm working on a new show. So even if it's my own personal project or my professional project. So it starts like this. It's very simple. Initiate and start to draw attention to an interest. Make people curious about what you're talking about. So I asked my colleague, Anna, who is our content marketing manager, to answer a simple question about what marketers have to know before they start an episodic content strategy. So I love her answer. It's something like this. Build anticipation by giving consumer a reason to look forward, to get excited about your next release. And how do you build anticipation? By initiating and drawing attention to their interest. That means that you need to know your audience interest. The second one, it's allow people to participate in some way. Give them the chance to comment, to share, and to engage with your own social media. Maybe you will have a live video series. Maybe you will have a comment section where people can talk about the topic you have in video. So let's get back to White Boy Friday on how brands repurpose every video in an article that draw a lot of attention in comments. There's a lot of awesome interest and know-how juice in those comment section. The third one, finish the show prematurely so you can create a cognitive tension. This will give you a chance to think about your content from a season perspective. Just look at how House of Cards is built on seasons and the other episodes and the other video series on Netflix. And the last one is invite participants to return for the resolution. Show them a trailer based on your next season and ask them to subscribe to your next season. And if the first season is finished, you have to work on the second season. Just make sure that your trailer, just make some short trailer and create that interest where they will definitely want to submit their email. So you can notify them before the episode 1 from the next season is launched. Or just, I don't know, record yourself and tell them that you need some fresh new ideas for the next season. Ask them to send your best, ask them to send you their best ideas request. And if it's something you like, maybe you welcome them on board and creating and working on the next season along with them. So now that we all know this Zygarde effect, I want to move forward and see what's the right type of episodic content for your brand. Because there are 7 different episodic types of content you can choose from. First one is the docuseries. A docuseries can be a long-form movie or can be a mini documentary. When you can use this format, when your existing customers have an interesting story to talk about and can hold the audience in attention. Maybe when you have the right budget for this type of production, and also the qualified people who can take care of this type of content. Or maybe when you have a powerful standpoint and you can establish a movement with your documentary. These are the 3 examples I took from MailChimp Presents. So just go on Google and type MailChimp Presents, and you will see a landing page with all the content they are putting there. And just go on the documentary category, and you will see all these topics that they want to establish a movement. The second one is the talk show. For some brands, this can be the easiest episodic content you can produce. But if you're not making it interesting enough for your audience, and you're not able to invite interesting guests to your talk show, you will be facing a big problem at the end of the end. So this is also a great way to develop your brand's thought leadership in a much creative and engaging way. So I somehow see a lot of the opportunities here, but you really have to position yourself as a really great thought leader. The next one is the Scripted Series. Sometimes it's based on a fictional situation. This type of content can be different actors with everything a big Hollywood movie project can deliver. But the most interesting thing is that you don't need millions of dollars to invest in it. You can make it with a much smaller budget. Like, for example, what is said Godin is doing with the Akimbo podcast. It's the kind of podcast he's reading, and it's scripted, and he knows what he's talking about. The next one is the learning series. All you have to do is just type the question in, and all you have to do is just type the question in Google, and voila, here are the answers. And when you want to learn something new, there's a ton of new types of content you can consume to see every step you can take to learn that specific idea. And brands have today this power of teaching people how they can leverage something from their industry. So let's take an example from Ahrefs. If you go on their YouTube channel, there's like an academy, like a school of everything around SEO, everything around digital marketing, everything around content, in such a way that you just sit down on your couch, take your notes, and start watching. The next one is reality show. This type of content can be a great way for brands to grow their awareness if they want authentic emotion and unscripted moment that only reality show can deliver. That's why I'm putting this example at work from a video set from MailChimp. Go there, check them out, and take some notes on how to create a reality show. The next one are the animated series. Another great way to do episodic content is via animated series. All you have to do is just start from a topic, work with some professionals, illustrators, and animators, and voila, your animated series is done. Yeah, I know, it's not that easy, but all I want to show you is that it's not impossible. Take for example, the Bible Project. These guys are just creating these illustrations, and they are publishing on their YouTube, and they are showing the books from the Bible. It's so simple, like everybody can do it. And the last but not least, the solo series. Some say that it's so easy to do solo series, but the real interesting thing that the only people who are not doing the solo series are saying that it's easy to do a solo series. Another video series you can do if you're a small business, or you just want to make that episodic content for your company you're working it for. It's the solo series. It can be only you presenting and talking about a topic. You can do this thing that Gary Vaynerchuk did when he was at Wine Library and presented different wine bottles. Or you can do something similar to what Ryan Holiday is doing with the Daily Dad podcast, or Joe Polizzi with the Content Inc. podcast show. Some of these solo series can be videos or even in audio format. But creating an episodic content strategy is not just to create content and publish. So you will have to stay on your comfy couch and wait for the notification alarm. If you don't have a distribution strategy for your episodic content, it's just a big zero. Everybody is doing it. So how can you position yourself different in your industry? Because it's easy today to draw attention, but it's really hard to maintain that attention. So that's why I believe in distribution and the importance of amplifying the content. And that's why I say that distribution is the key. So before I started creating this presentation, I sent Rand an email and asked him what marketers should know about building a great episodic content strategy for their brand. So here is his answer. You need a phenomenal answer to one simple question. Who will amplify this and why? That answer will be how you get a fan base and how that fan base will grow your creation's reach. So who will amplify my episodic content? Should I work with influencers? Should I invest in PPC? Should I make, press releases? Should I launch offline events? I think that the answer is yes to everything. But most important, how can you work more effective that can not only draw your attention, but also keep your audience attention? So here is this question. Write it down and then answer on your own. Who will amplify my episodic content? Here's an example that I'm using, and I saw a lot of, let's say, results on my own part, and I repurposed the content. So here's how I'm doing it. I create an evergreen content. I start with a simple keyword based on my audience interest and combine with one objective. Then move forward and create a pillar content. This can be, I don't know, a long form video, a podcast, an interview podcast, whatever. Just start from one pillar content. Then repurpose it in different writing formats. This can be blog articles, FAQ answers, PDF guide, or even small quotes you can share in different articles. Then move forward and you can create visual content. You can design infographics, Instagram and LinkedIn carousels, and even small graphics. And then create micro content, stories, short videos, simple animation. And if the episode is something you can repurpose in audio, then make it a podcast episode. As simple as that. So, before we finish this presentation, let me remember you what Joe said, that we are all media companies. Behave like a media company, create content like a media company, draw attention like a media company, maintain attention like a media company, build a community like a media company, influence like a media company, create a legacy like a media company. I want to thank you for your attention. I want to thank you for this opportunity to talk with you about episodic content marketing. And if you have any questions, just tweet me at Katai or write me an email at robert@creatopy.com. And thank you again. And don't forget, you are a media company.
Oh, Robert, thank you so much for this presentation. I have to tell you that I took a lot of notes. And actually, while you were talking, I remember the conversation I had a few months ago with Carlin Postma. She's a content marketing expert, and she was my guest on a podcast episode. And she told me that one of the most important ingredients of a successful content marketing strategy is to create episodic content. And she said, and I remember this phrase, create content as if you're writing a screenplay for Netflix. Create characters, a location, a plot, create a conflict, and the resolution. And these were exactly the same things you mentioned in the presentation. And I have to tell you that it was great. I loved your presentation.
Thank you very much. I hope that it answered some of you that have any question about episodic content and why it's important. But lately I saw that a lot of brands are working on creating episodic content, video series, podcast, and I really believe that it's not just create the content and just put it in some video series. It's also some of them are forgetting that after their work is really starting after they hit the publish button. And I think that's where you make the difference between a well-known episodic content or just well-created episodic content.
Yeah, because as a conclusion, if done well, episodic content marketing can help you differentiate your brand and build deeper connections with your audience. So I really think this is really important.
Exactly.
Great. Thank you again for your time and for sharing these informations with us. Everyone, please make sure you stick with us until the end of the day because Social Talks continues. Thank you again, Robert. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Maria.